Hi everybody, Richard Tromans here again at Artificial Lawyer TV. Today we're doing another product walkthrough. This time it's with Legau. To tell us a bit more about it is Luis, and I probably pronounced that wrong, but good to have you on the show. Hi.
Thank you, Richard. It's an honor to be here. I've been an admirer of your work for quite some time.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I understand you're going to give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and what the company does, and then we're going to get into the demo. But either way, I will let you take it from here, and I'll come back at the end to ask some questions.
Thank you, Richard. So my name is Luis Alves Dias. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Legau. I have an attorney background, so I've practiced for 7 years in big international law firms, and then I decided to move to an entrepreneurship career and launch my own projects, some for profit, some not for profit. And in the last 3 years, I've been fully dedicated to Legau as the CEO. I'm also an invited professor on legal tech subjects at Nova School of Law, and the idea of Legau came from the frustrations that Diogo, one of my co-founders, and I, both of us came from the industry, felt as practicing attorneys. And what we do is we are a smart drafting tool that supports attorneys throughout the full legal drafting cycle for every type of legal document. So I would say this is actually the two things that set us apart from the other smart drafting solutions in the market. So we cover the entire legal drafting cycle, which means from the research to the planning of your document to the creation itself and then to the review of that document. And also, instead of being purely focused on contracts, we help attorneys with every type of legal document. And we do it within Word and Outlook. And I'll show you how it works. And we also partner with the usual DMS systems from the firm. So I manage NetDocuments, SharePoint, OneDrive, etc. And here we are inside of Word. We are also on Outlook. I'll show you in a minute. But here we are inside of Word. We have a blank page in front of us, like many lawyers do every day. And to give you, to guide you through the several features we have, I'll give you a personal example from my times as an attorney. I used to draft contracts, so I'll talk about contracts, but we can really think of any type of legal document, a memo, a court filing, a brief, etc. And the first thing I would do when I was drafting a contract would be checking the internal standards of the firm. So see if there's a vetted template that I could use. And that you can do inside Legau in what we call documents. And here, the firm can actually create their own knowledge tree. So they centralize the curated information, the curated templates and banks of clauses or content of the firm here. Let's say we want a consulting agreement, for instance. What you'll see here is, and again, I'm talking about contracts, but we can have this for all types of legal documents. You see the structure of the document, and you can select whatever part of the document. And let's say we are drafting a consulting agreement in this weird language. We can select anything we want from our bank of contents. So we have multiple alternatives for the same topic. In this case, ownership in the consulting agreement, but it can be legal arguments, for instance, in a memo. And it will copy paste for your document and assume the formatting. Now, many times attorneys want to start from the template of the firm, and you can select whatever number of templates you want to have as a firm, and you can just click on a button and start to work from it and adjust the template you have with your bank of contents, in this case, bank of clauses, adjust it to the specific case you have. But you can also use the bank of contents to review what came from the counterparty, for instance. So let's say we want to review, sorry, you want to review a clause that come from, or you can add a clause and you want to review this clause that came from the counterparty. You can just click in here, do a drag and drop, and it will tell you what are the differences between what came from the counterparty, your internal standards in the firm. And If you want to insert the markup, you just click in here and it will do the track changes for you and saving you, tons of time with this markup that usually is a manual work. You can also do annotations to everything you have in your bank of contents. So that's a perfect way for you as a firm to collaboratively work your internal knowledge and build it together. Now, you can also, the second thing I would do is go to the DMS system and see if there's any previous experience that could be helpful to me, or that or ask my colleagues to do that as well. And from Legau, we have a full integration with your DMS system, so you can do that without leaving the document where you are actually doing the work. So let's say we want a right of first refusal clause for our contract. It's searching within, in this case, I manage, and it's telling me, you have these X number of documents that can be helpful to you. And instead of the usual experience I had, which would be, ending up with a list of 20 to 30 documents and open one by one, do control find, see if they are relevant to me, usually with two screens, and with the two screens split in many different windows. Here you are directed inside the document to what might be relevant to you, and you can just copy paste what you are seeing, for instance, and use it immediately. You can expand, you can navigate through excerpts if that's relevant in your case, and also you can open the document from here if for any reason you need to do it. You always have the metadata to help you, but bear in mind that the metadata and the filters you see here are always customizable for the specific client, so for your firm specifically. Now, we also have an assistant that can help you draft. Well, we actually work based in different types of categories of use cases, and we work based on use cases. You have, for instance, drafting use cases where you can ask for suggestions of clauses or alternative clauses. But let's say we want, instead of using our templates, we want to draft an agreement based on previous references. We have, let me see, think. Okay. So you can also, instead of going to the documents and start from your template, you can, for instance, pick a few examples from your previous experience, give it to the assistant, give additional context, which basically means that, okay, I have these references, I want to adapt these references based on this new context, and the assistant will do it for you, and you can actually see it doing it live, for instance, as it goes. Now, this will take about 5 minutes to complete, which in this case would be something, if an attorney was drafting it manually, would take a few hours, 2 to 4 hours probably. I'll stop it here just because we don't have that time. But this is just to show you that you don't need, if you don't have templates or previous created knowledge, you can also ask for help to the assistant to actually go from a blank page to the starting point. We also work with use cases on planning. It can be, structured for a contract, which is what we're talking about here, but memos or presentations. Also email, but I'll show you a little bit more about that later. And also review and negotiate use cases. And here I'll show you, for instance, that you can redline this clause from the perspective consultant. And so you can ask for help to the assistant to redline clauses. I selected this clause. And this is not only about accelerating the work of attorneys, but also providing them an echo box for their work, making sure they have considered everything in the markup they are doing to a certain contract, for instance. And the assistant will provide a markup that, if you think it's correct and makes sense to you, you can just click on replace clause and it will do the track changes for you. Of course, the more context you provide, the more tailored it will be. And also, you can always use the chat to tailor it more and more to your specific context and case. Uh, Now, on the review side, you can also use it to, review documents for a DD or for if you are preparing a DD report, or is there a change of control clause, for instance. Or if you are a litigator, you can use the document review use case as well to prepare the facts for your pleading, for instance. And what the assistant will do is go through the documents that you uploaded and say if, in this case, there's a change of control clause or not. And if there's not, it will tell you. If that is, it will also summarize it for you and tell you what page you should look into. Now, let's say we have our document ready to be sent to our client. The good news is that we are also here at on Outlook, and you have access to the assistant as well, where you can ask for help to reply to emails or write emails about topics, and that's a bestseller usually among partners, for instance. But something that attorneys really value is the email template. So we all have been in situations where we reply to a certain request from a client, and we want to find that answer we provided at the time because we want to use it again, but we are not finding it, or we waste too much time searching for it. The next time an attorney is drafting an email to a request of a client, they can create immediately a template that can use in the future. And the next time you just click on a button and you can immediately adjust your template and send it to whomever you need to send it. And these templates can be shared among colleagues or the department, for instance. Now, we've been talking about the internal knowledge component of the product, but we also have case law here. So we also have this external knowledge component where you can search, for instance, in this case, more than 9 million of court decisions from state and federal courts in the US. You can use filters as well. And you can open the decisions from here, so you don't need to leave Word. You can also see what decisions have been mentioned by this one, and you have the full text in here, and you can select whatever parts you want. And when you have your selection, it will do the citations for you. And also something that might be helpful to litigators is the AI assistant. So you can just come here, for instance, and ask for a summary of the decision or ask questions about the decision. And of course, we work really hard on the back end to make sure it's only answering about this decision. So there's guardrails, but this is a great way for you, instead of going through all this information, process it in a faster way and understanding whether you should invest more time in this decision or not. And you can also add this case law to your favorites. So it's a great way for you to build your own library of case law. And you can also share it with your colleagues. So it's also a great way for the firm to build collectively and together the knowledge, the internal knowledge about certain subjects. For instance, if there's a new matter, a partner can share a folder with an associate that feed that folder with case law, and the next time there's something about that specific subject, you already know you have everything you should read about case law on that folder. So this is just a quick glimpse of what we do at Legau. There's many more use cases and features in each of these larger features, but this is at least a glimpse of what we do and how we help attorneys throughout the legal drafting cycle.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that. And it's one of the things I've noticed is particularly with, with a lot of the new Gen AI connected startups all based on LLMs is that you just do so much. I mean, are you using a lot of generative AI or is this using different technology to achieve what you're doing?
Yeah, on our AI assistant, we use generative AI, and but we prefer to work on based on use cases instead of having for instance, an open interface where you can ask for everything. We
Mm,
work based on use cases and try to verticalize those use cases based on not only on data but also on experience. So it's a way for mitigating the symmetries of experience between, for instance, an associate and a partner. Of course, there will always be differences in the output, but we try to also work on the use cases based on that experience to make sure that there are enough intermediary layers to mitigate that asymmetries of experience. But we work with Gen AI and we also work with different types of AI as well.
sort of more machine learning stuff. I mean, I mean, you do so much, and this is a thing. Like as I mentioned, just then, the back in the old days, like 6, 7 years ago, most companies would do one thing. They might do case law, they might do redlining, they might do some kind of drafting support beyond redlining. And like now you're doing like everything. And it's several other companies who are trying to do this. I mean, who are you competing against? Because you just opened in the US. I mean, are you trying to go up against Thomson Reuters, LexisNexis, Harvey? Is that, you're totally, you know, you've got as good a chance as anyone. I mean, is that the goal?
Yeah, so one of let me maybe give a step back and tell you why we have this holistic approach to the legal drafting
Mm,
process. One of the things, so when we worked, Diogo and I, when we worked at big international law firms, budget was not a problem, and we had all the amazing tools that existed at the time. And one of the frustrations we felt was, well, apart from the clunkiness and the learning curve and all of that, was that there was no single tool to actually help you throughout the process. All of them
mm,
covered a little bit of the process. They were point solutions, and that was really frustrating because in the end you had to manage different interfaces, learn different
mm,
softwares, and all of that. So we decided from the beginning that we wanted to have this holistic approach. In terms of competitors, I would say that we are unique in this holistic approach, but definitely there are companies that have several products that together can do several of these things, if not all of them. You mentioned a few. Litera is also a good example. I would say they are probably our main competitor. Thomson Reuters and LexisNexis have also good products that together can do a lot of these things. But uh, I would say maybe there's some of that clunkiness, and also they are very expensive. There's a huge learning curve to each of the products. Um, and then I would say there's, point solutions that cover parts of the process, and they are good in doing that. But again, it's just frustrating that they just do that. And
mm,
and what I've seen from the smart drafting tools in the market is, for instance, usually they are only focused on the creation part and only for contracts. So what about the rest of the legal drafting process and of the other types of documents? Because even transactional lawyers do other types of draft other types of documents, right?
Okay, gotcha. Okay, we've got to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but just quickly. So you mentioned price. What are you charging?
Yeah, we so the price is tailored to each client, and we have three plans from it's the starter, the premium, and the enterprise. The three plans give you access to different types of features
Mm,
or different thresholds of usage, for instance, regarding the AI.
mm,
And the pricing always depends on the size of your organization, the number of users, and this might be also important. We are targeting especially mid-sized firms in the
mhm.
US from 50 to 250 attorneys.
Right.
So that example, for instance, would be something. We are open to of course to talk to everybody at this stage, but
Mm.
because we
And
are still in the,
is that it seems like that's where you've obviously done your research and you see that that's where you've got a good market fit.
yes,
Not super small, not too big, but in that particular tier of firm that has enough money to buy your product, but perhaps is a bit nervous about spending more on some of the other products.
yes, definitely.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And just the very last thing, if somebody does want to get hold of this, how can they do it?
You can go to our website and request a demo, and we'll show you how the product works and try to understand a little bit more of what you exactly need, because sometimes we might not be the right solution for you, and that's all right. We can point you to what other provider can be the right solution for you. But we always try to understand exactly what are the use cases, the pain points the organization is feeling, and also show them how we can potentially help them with our product. And after that, usually there's a proof of concept where they can test the product for themselves. At this stage, actually, in the US market, we have a US early adopters program with a few advantages. One of them is they have a chance to test the product for 3 months free of charge, and they can also pick a pro bono organization that and will offer to that pro bono 1 year subscription free of our product up to a certain number of users.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Well, look, that's all we got time for, but thanks very much for giving us such a sort of comprehensive overview and good luck growing the business in the US. Thank you very much.